Hi everyone, happy Thursday to you out there. I'll take my time getting started so I don't spoil any surprises for people who are joining us after the first minute or two. Hello everyone, nice to see you. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been on Instagram Live. You'll probably start noticing that we're not doing it every week anymore. We're moving to more of an every second week schedule, or really when we've got something to reveal or something new that we want to share with you. So it won't be exactly every week, probably every 2 weeks, but we'll make sure we always announce it. So just check out the stories up in the top to find out when it's there. Or if anyone has gotten our newsletter today, you will also see that I popped a little note about it in there. Hey Liz, nice to see you. I hope you haven't all missed me too much not being here last week. It is a little strange doing it every second week because it's kind of like you get out of the rhythm. Normally it's like, oh, it's Thursday, I need to go on. But I think it's actually probably going to end up being a bit more fun because of the fact that I'll have more to talk about. Now, I think a lot of you may still be on I was going to say Christmas holidays, not Christmas holidays, summer holidays in the midst of super hot heat. We've had a very up and down summer here. At the moment I'm looking out the window and it's really misty and grey, but very humid, sticky, hot, but just grey. So we've had a very low sun, high humidity and heat week, which is a little bit peculiar. And it's actually probably good to have the grey weather because we're doing loads of planning for the autumn. We've got a ton of stuff coming up between new patterns, our Seasons Club being reimagined, and obviously just other releases as well, like my Knit Along will be coming along in the next few weeks as well. So there's actually quite a pick going on. You like my cardi? Thank you. I haven't worn it for a while. I had forgotten how much I liked this cardigan. This is Chimera. I'll turn around there so you can see the back. It was kind of a fun one. It's like you knit the top from side to side and then the top and then the bottom part is knit down and the decreases are in each side here. So it was kind of a fun, slightly unusual one that it was for a Knit Along. It must be 2017, 18. It's a little bit back now, but it's definitely a fun construction. Big thing I want to talk to you all about today is Neon Skyline re-release. So if you are on a newsletter, you'll have gotten a message about it today, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about the shawl, about the yarn kits we have, which are really nice and different combinations, and how you can make your decisions. Ottawa in Canada, you've got hot and humid as well. Yeah, it's sticky. Nighttime is when it gets you when it's humid because you try to go to sleep and it's like, just sticky hot. But a little cooler today, so quite nice. I'm enjoying it. I even get to wear a pair of, I was going to say runners. In Ireland, we tend to call sneakers runners, but nice to wear them rather than sandals for a change. Feels good. So this particular shawl, it was the start of 2020 that it was released. It's called Neon Skyline. So I'll pull up the first version. This is the version that came out a couple of years ago, three and a half years ago to be exact. So it's a really fun shawl, as you can see. It starts at the tip with biased shaping, has garter stripes, mosaic slip stitch, and then it finishes up on the top. So this uses two yarn types. This is the second version, which I will show to you as well in a second. It uses two different types of yarns. It uses our Nua Sport, which is obviously a sports weight. It's kind of a heavier sports weight. It's got merino, yak, and linen. So it's a little bit woollier and it's got a bit more texture going on, if you kind of know what I mean. And then the second one is combined with is a fingering singles yarn. So it's kind of shiny and very tightly spun, and it tends to hold really bright color. So works well for getting things with speckles, with variegation, and something that's really got a little bit more pop to it. And the two combinations work really well because you've got that, I kind of pull this up here. This is a second version that we just knit recently. Because what you've got with the two colors is If I put it up nice and close, you can probably see this is the Sport. So it's got a very woolly texture to it. And then the Singles is kind of a shinier, crisper definition. So that one obviously is a little bit looser because you're using the same needle size, but it's a finer yarn. So it means that you get a difference in the color, a difference in the texture, and a difference in the weight, so the actual stitch size. And it actually all works really well to help the stitch pattern pop out really well. So when I put it together, first of all, it was purely just a pattern. It's just a pattern I put up, and we did have a few yarn kits, and that was all we did. But I really love this style of color work. I don't know if any of you have done it before. It is called mosaic stitch, which is, it's just a variation on slip stitch patterns. But it's called mosaic stitch because, well, it looks like a mosaic stitch pattern. You see, it really looks like a mosaic, and you can get some very interesting motifs. And it's a slip stitch pattern that's done in garter stitch, so that every row is knit. And then you're only ever using a single color at a time, and the other colors are being slipped, which means that you can create all of this very interesting colors that go together. The two things that are happening here is you've got the mosaic slip stitch pattern, but you've also got what you can see is a bias. So when you start off the bottom of the shawl here, it's just at this tip, just a few stitches. And can you see how you have this line down the middle? That is a series of decreases, essential decrease. And when you do a decrease, it pushes things down in the middle. So it pushes the stitch pattern down, it pushes the shaping down, and then increases at the side, which push up. So this row across here is a straight row. So this point here connects with this point here, connects with this point over here. So that's a straight row of knitting, but it creates an absolute V simply because you've got all those increases and decreases. So that's all worked into the actual mosaic stitch pattern here, because on the chart you've got the increases shown here and the decreases shown there, and then the mosaic stitch pattern basically works all in around it. So it doesn't matter whether you've never done mosaic before, or if you prefer charts, or you prefer the written directions, they will all be in there. If you feel a little intimidated by the idea of the mosaic stitch pattern, that's why we actually went ahead and put an actual workshop together. So I could step you through, show you how, even though it's showing two colors in the row, you're only working one at a time. The other one is just being slipped, so it's showing up in the chart from the row below. The shape of it, it starts down here, and you've got a series of stripes, mosaic patterns, and you end all the way up here with, this is the final width from here over to here. Now, if I stand back here, you can probably see that there's a really deep V at that point, but it finishes all the way up here. So what you actually need to do is that middle part, you need to fill this in. And you're going to do that by doing a series of decreases that closes the gap off. And when you end, you're right up at the top here with just those few stitches. It's a really fun shape to knit, and it makes for a very nice one to wear too, because you've got a long section here, small one that you can kind of throw across there. So there's lots and lots of different things you can do with that shape, both wearing wise and just creating shapes basically due to the fact that you're using just increases and decreases. So once you kind of understand how it fits together, try the mosaic. The next thing that you want to think about is basically what the colors are going to look like and how you want it to pop. So you've got the different textures to pop. If you've got some yarns in your stash already that you think will work together, you can do a little swatch of the mosaic pattern to see how it goes. If you're buying ones just independently, you want to look for a nice little bit of color contrast like this, so the mosaic patterns will really jump out for you. But we also have a whole pile of kits that we've put together. So we've got our newer range, and then we got in a couple of colors in the Life in the Long Grass Merino Singles. Because of the fact that they do ones with just very delicate speckles, it has small bits of color that pop through that you can actually kind of catch when you're going to go and pick a contrast color to go with the Nua. So I've got a few ones here, and after I go through all of the different options, I'll give you the ones that Laura really loves and the ones that, Well, I suppose I love and also find that I would probably get a lot of wear out of, because that's for me, when I'm picking something in my wardrobe, I like to figure out what ones am I going to wear. Like sometimes yarns you go and like, oh, that yarn's just perfect. But then the question is it a yarn I'm going to end up wearing, which has a big impact really on how usable it's going to be. So I'll pick up the ones that are just we've got one yarn option come Nua option that goes together. So this here is the singles one, and this is called Ishka. Ishka is the Irish for water, so very aptly named because it does have a very kind of delicate watery balance to it, and you can see it is a semi-solid, so this one doesn't have speckles, but it's got like just nice light variation between the two. And we thought that actually went very nicely with our late night blues, so it's kind of an indigo denim-y navy color. And those two, I think, work really nicely together. It's a bit more subtle. Like there's plenty of color variation in them, so you will see the stitch patterns, but it's not a very in-your-face color combo, if you know what I mean. So very, very subtle. If you're into blues and you want something that's going to go with everything, that would work very well. If you want to go in the other direction and actually have something that is a statement piece, then this is the one for you. We've got this wonderful yellow, which is called Sketchbook. Again, another semi-solid. And then the figment that goes with it. This is going to be so much fun. Like you can see, it's going to be closer to what we would have had on the original one, where you've got the yellows, a very bright neon yellow, and the late night blues. And that one here, we kind of thought worked really well with figment to get that lovely, lovely contrast of the two together. So this one is pretty special as well. So I don't know if you can see it well. The figment is a purple, but it's on the kind of blue end of the purpley scale. But it's a very deep, pigmenty, purpley color. I think of it actually as a fig. You know, kind of that. You know, some of those kind of the purpley sheen you get in figs sometimes. Robin, you love those two colors together. Aren't they wonderful? They really are lovely together. Now, this is one of Laura's favorites, which I can totally get, because Laura loves kind of darker, more muted colors, but you need a color pop. So the one that we've got with this is the one called Heath. And this is kind of very rusty tones, but it's got a bit more variegation. It goes into kind of a lighter oranger and into a more deeper, darker one. And the one we put this together with was Copple. And Copple is can you see it here? It's the Nua one. This is a brown, so really nice, deep, rich brown. And so if I pull the two of these out together, I think these look lovely together. So that's Laura's pick. So this is a little brighter than she normally goes for, but I think the Copple is what she's been dying to knit with. But really pretty, the two together. Now, the next ones we've got, they're more speckledy coloured ones, which means that we found that more yarns actually went with them. Because when you've got speckles, you can actually go and pick out little bits of the speckle colour and find one of the contrast colour that goes with it. So a bit like, because the ones that are done on here that you can see is the main colour here, the contrast colour is the Chirp. And you can see there's a bunch of different colors. There's some pinks and blues, mustards and greens. There's all sorts of stuff. And we've paired it with Frog on the Wall. So I've got, here we go. No, have I got the right one? Yes. So this is the Chirp color here. So you can see it on the skein as well as on me, and all of the different little bits of speckles of color. Do be aware, of course, because they're hand dyed, every skein that comes out will have a slight different variation in color. Some might be a little more pink, some might be a little more blue. That's how hand dyed colors come out, is the same bits will go in, but depending on where they are in the pot or in the tub, they're going to have a slight little variation in colors. So it's what makes them unique. It does mean that what's photographed is not going to be identical to what you get. Close, but not identical, because everyone is an individual, unique piece of yarn. So now that I've given you my hand-dyed yarn spiel, here are the combos. This is the one I'm wearing. So this is the Chirp with Frog on the Wall, which, as you can see, is a really nice color combo. In fact, our sample knitter totally fell in love with this combination, and we ended up sending her another one to go knit with. This is going to be a brighter one, but it's also gorgeous. You see, this is Cafe Flamingo, And because there's quite a bit of pink in it, this one goes together really nicely with it as well. I think that's just, oh, it's so pretty. And then the final one we have popped together here is the figment again, because you've got little bits of blue and little small specks of figment along there. There were so many combinations we could have put together with this. Another one that would have worked as well would have been Hatter's Teal Party, because of the little flecks along there that, you know, I'll often go just dig through and take a look. I'm going to pull this out here. You can probably see the figment specks right there. That's where the match came from. That it is a great source of inspiration to find those little flecks as you're running through a speckled yarn. And I would say to you as well, if you're ever trying to figure out how to use a speckled yarn, or you feel that it's too busy by itself, find a solid color that matches with one of the speckles or the slight color variation that goes through, because it'll pull it out, but it will also kind of anchor the whole thing for you and give it a little bit more structure. If you're not into like all over speckled or hand-dyed look, it's a lovely way of extending it or making it a little bit more usable, I suppose, really. So the last color combination, and one of these is my favorite. This one, here we go. This is the greens one. It's Mint Grove. You've got little flecks of yellow and greens, and there's even a few blues in here. So the two ones we liked with this is our Frog on the Wall again, and you can see some of these specks look perfect with Frog on the Wall. Really good match. And then this is the other one where we've got this is our Sea Veggies. And again, few darker specks on, I'm going to turn this around here to catch a couple of the little darker specks that come in with this one. And this, I think, is my color choice. I feel that I would get a ton of use out of this. I'm a big fan of greens to start with. And the Sea Veggies green is probably one of my favorite green in the ranges. And I think that the chirp with it I want yet another combination of these ones. I think that would be super. Robin, the dark green is beautiful. It is, isn't it? I think the two of those that's my pick. So we've got the different picks that we're going through. This one is my pick, which is Sea Veggies with the Mint Grove. And the ones that were Laura's favorites, oh Laura, I've forgotten the second one, you might have to pop in there. I know that the Heath with the Koppel was one of your favorites, and I know you also liked Chirp, but I am trying to remember the combo that you liked with Chirp. So I'm going to let you put it up. Molly, this is going to be an expensive Insta Live. I'm sorry, but not sorry at the same time. They are lovely yarns. It's a really fun knit, and it's just, yeah, the shape makes it particularly interesting, because all you're actually doing is doing increases and decreases, and you start seeing this fantastic V shape. And Laura has jumped in. The other one, it was Figment with the Chirp. I thought it was probably that, but I was afraid to say it just in case. If you're looking for these on our website, you pop into Stone Stitches. We've actually got the banner up on the front page. You'll be able to find it up there. Also, you've got the option of getting just the yarn kit by itself if you got the pattern before. If you wanted to buy the workshop, that will come with the patterns. You can opt to either or. So you can really jump into one or the other. You totally love the Figment. I know, isn't it a great color? You probably start seeing with these that our Nua colors, we spent a long time picturing them, and not picturing them, getting them just right, because of course when they were over dyed on the dark or the beige base with the yak, none of the colors came out exactly the way we were expecting them to. So it took 2 or 3 iterations back to get them tested till they were like spot on with what we wanted, because we had very specific colors in our mind that didn't veer too far in either direction from our vision. And so, yeah, the Nua colors are definitely a labor of love, but it does mean that I like and will stand behind and maybe love every single one of the colors in that range, to be honest with you. But yeah, so that is a reintroduction to our Neon Skylines. I will stand back as well here, give you one final view of this before we finish up. This is it upside down, of course, because this is the starting one and this is the finish. And you can actually, if you've got your own colors and you've got like a slight variation with what you've got, you can actually see the end of it where there was a series of stripes alternating here. That can be varied. So if you're running out of one color, you can, shift around the different ranges. Once you've got enough of either of them, when you get to that final section, you can play around a little bit with stripes, or just make it your own and make sure you make the most use of all of the colors or all of the yarn that you actually have. Robin, you'll be knitting 3 versions of this one. It's addictive. I mean, I will tell you it's addictive because, to the extent that our sample knitter, when she finished with it, said that it was one of the hardest samples that she ever had to send away. So we actually just sent her on some extra yarn because it's like, here, go knit another one for yourself. Because, she just really liked it. So I think that's probably going to kind of finish up with that for today. If you do have any more questions about Neon Skyline, about mosaic knitting, or about the Neon Skyline yarn kits, just pop in here and you can ask them, because I'm going to put this up afterwards. Just save it onto my grid so you'll be able to find it after the fact. And thank you for joining me today. I should be back in 2 more weeks because I will have another new autumn release that I'll be, or pre-sale that I'll be getting started about, but I'm not going to give any hints away about it yet. But it won't be next week, it will be 2 weeks from now. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all again. And if there's any questions or anything you'd like to answer in the next one, put them up here and I am delighted to talk about them. So thank you very much for joining me today. Bye.